In Walmart's Who'Knewville, everyone ready their cart. Amazing Black Friday deals are about to start. Online and in the app, such great deals to explore. Everything you love from tech, toys, and more. The days to save and the ones to remember. It's only the 25th to the 30th of November. Set your alarms. Don't miss out. These deals are epic, without a doubt. The Who's are all ready, but are you? Walmart Black Friday deals await. Who knew?
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do? I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault. A new series streaming now only on Peacock.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Breaking news are happening now.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Reality Flash. My name is Mike Bloom, and I'm here to bring you the flashiest breaking news in the wide world of reality TV. Today, after weeks of speculation, Australian Survivor has officially announced its next host for what some would call the gold standard of Survivor. Is it going to get more golden? We will find out in due time. But first, I would never be one to fish for likes, but I'm always fishing for subs and for tips. That should be an Australian Survivor season coming up. Subs versus tips. Go to therealityflash.com. Make sure you are subscribed to this podcast so you don't miss any news that is coming out. I've done 3 of these podcasts within a week of each other. So when this reality TV news just flies off the shelves, I will be telling you everything you need to know. Leave a rating and review if you can. And of course, if there's any information out there that you want me to talk about, no spam and no solicitations, just tips at therealityflash.com. Let me give a little bit of a disclaimer at the top of this podcast. We are going to be getting into information that spoils the results of, up to this point, the first 2 episodes of Australian Survivor, Australia versus the World, which premiered on Sunday. If you have not watched the season so far and you would like to remain unspoiled, do not listen to this podcast.
Please leave.
Yeah, just
Go.
Straight up.
Go away and return later. Return and come back when you've watched it.
What are you still doing here? Get out. So we are going to be getting into events that occurred over those first 2 episodes as they play very much into the announcement of the new host of Australian Survivor. But you heard her melodious voice just a bit ago telling you all to leave. We would not be here talking about Australian Survivor in general, let alone this news, if it was not for her. She is the chief international correspondent of all things Survivor, most prominently Australian Survivor, Australia versus the World, which has gotten off to a rollicking start, to say the least. It is my best friend, the one, the only Shannon Guss.
That was such a good intro. I feel bad because we just did a podcast that will come out after this, and your intro was so much better than mine. And it's like so easy to compare because they're back to back.
Well, listen, you were able to set it up. I had to try to match the praise you have fawned upon me. So I decided to do so deservedly, as we are going to get into a major piece of game-changing news for Australian Survivor. Let me say one more time, get out, ye innocent faces, if you don't wish to be spoiled on what has just happened on Australia versus the World. Of course, if you're a patron of RHAP, you can go check out that episode right now. So please sign up if you have the ways and means to do so. But Shannon, it was just but a short while ago where we received the devastating news that Australian Survivor would be losing the very celebrated, very venerated Jonathan LaPaglia as its host after Australia versus the World, which is currently ongoing. As we move into a new generation of Australian Survivor, so it comes with a new host. Now, we did an entire podcast about that. Shannon has done an entire open casket funeral for JLP. check that out. We will not get into right now the reasons behind why it may have happened, what the process was, but we are more so focusing today on the official new host of Australian Survivor. And after much speculation, Shannon, it turns out that the speculation was correct, as
Crazy.
mere minutes following his boot from Australian Survivor, Australia versus the World, the new host of the currently filming season of Australian Survivor is none other than former champion and history-making winner of Deal or No Deal Island Season 2, David Jennett.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it crazy to think that like a week ago, was it on the draft that I was like, David will do well because he's gonna be the host. You would think you have to make the merge to be the host. We thought that was the new dateable, and it's absolutely not. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
where
host and
you finish in the
non-hostable and hostable. Is that how we're going to define who makes the merge versus no? Though I guess it's the opposite now. If you're a pre-merger, you can be a host.
But he also is a two-time merge player, including a winner. So I don't know
Hmm.
what the barometer is for that. But yeah, David's gonna be the host. People have feelings about it. I did see some posts getting ratioed in the short amount of time since this news has dropped. Crazy time to announce it. Can I just say, no right answer for 10 to announce David. When JLP was out, people were so upset, like
Yep.
unanimously upset. Hearing it was David, people were like even lower on David than they might have been, I think, because he was taking that role from JLP. There was no good way to announce it, but this was particularly bad. I think they put it in the middle of JLP's last season. They put it right after David was the first boot of his tribe. I think maybe you let JLP play the season out. Maybe you let him this final historic season and you don't distract with news. There's a lot going on. Why now, Mike? Why would they think this is the time?
For a couple of reasons. One of them, because I agree, it's wild timing considering that, yeah, the context might be this guy just got voted out first from his tribe, and he's going to be hosting the show. It will be
Well,
his.
David's history speaks for itself, to be fair.
That's the thing as well. It's not defined by one particular season, but I think A, it is probably because of, wanting to strike while the iron is hot that David walks out of the tribal council after he's voted out being like, "You retired me. I'm not playing Australian Survivor anymore." It does seem like a nice setup for an announcement of like, "But you'll see David back on our screens." The other one might be that, look, I think it has been certainly rumored that when 10 released the news that Jonathan LaPaglia would not be coming back to Australian Survivor, it was maybe a bit of a hand being forced that it was like, hey, you could go public about this information or it will be released without your consent. So maybe it was them also trying to kind of like get out ahead as much as they possibly could, even though this was also rumors that were kind of speculated ahead of time of like, all right, let's make this announcement now officially so we don't have to essentially be dragged out to say, oh yeah, and David's coming back too.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get out ahead of it at all. Like, if they were going to do that, they should have announced it together, which is also not the right answer. Like, it would have
Yeah.
eviscerated David even more than it did. But then, if they've missed that opportunity, I think you take it to the end of the season. Maybe like it's the end of an era, the season is over. David will be the host. We'll still remember David from episode 2. If you don't, you're not the audience, you know? So I think that that's fine. And now just putting it in the middle of JLP's last season, I don't think was the time. It was just like, what did we need? We needed like the postscript after the episode, Marvel style, like David will return in 2026, and we got it. We got it. But yeah, do you have the post of so David posted and the network posted, and so
Yeah, so
what was the
I'll start
rollout
with
of this?
the network source officially. First, this was posted on Channel 10's social media. I'm reading this off of Twitter. So this was posted at what, 7:01
How many
a.m.
comments and how
Eastern
many
time.
likes?
We have 174 likes, 145 comments.
That's better.
But
That
this
actually slipped a little. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Since
this is
when I
what they
saw.
wrote. This isn't the last you'll see of David Jennett. He may have had his torch snuffed on Survivor Australia versus the World, but now David is stepping up to crown the next sole survivor. Filming is underway in the wilds of Samoa for the 12th season of Australian Survivor, where 10 is thrilled to confirm the Golden God will be at the helm, commentating every challenge in Tribal Council as castaways battle it out for the title of sole survivor in Australian Survivor Redemption, coming in 2026. I mean, we'll get to the redemption aspect of it later on. Also, that was like one long run-on sentence for a paragraph. David,
Don't stop, don't pause, don't let him think about it. Just keep talking. Just get
exactly.
through.
Don't take a breath because then they'll start talking back. But this
I know
is
too well.
a much more
Yeah.
condensed post, but still a large one from David collaborating with Australian Survivor on Instagram that says, I have so much respect for Australian Survivor. This game has changed my life. I love the players, I love the community of fans, and I love the crew who make it happen. As the new host of Australian Survivor, I won't let you down. So it should be said that right now, Australian Survivor is filming its next season. So forgive, the brevity of David's post. He might have just had to throw together a few sentences while in between tribal councils. We did get, though, a first look image of David's tribal council getup. And even though, he's played as an Australian, he used to be an American, he is rocking the full Canadian tuxedo, denim on denim,
Ooh,
for his tribal council look.
A lot going on. A lot going on in a photo I hadn't looked at much prior to this. And what a reaction it is to have this live on the podcast. So a lot going on in this photo.
Yeah, so for those that are not watching the video yet, it's a denim shirt, button-down shirt tucked into a pair of jeans.
Yeah, with a little bit of the button down you'd expect from David. So he's still keeping a little cash. Hair in the ponytail, in the low ponytail, which I think we could have, maybe made some different choices on. He has a snuffer in his hand. Oh my God.
He does have a snuffer in his hand. I mean, the fact of the matter is that he's going to be, helming this within, I imagine, still the wilds of Samoa. So I think you got to keep your hair out of your face as much as possible, right? Especially because tribal council is hot, especially when you get all those fires, that it's an incredibly hot setting. So I think he wants to try to keep himself as cool as possible, which also then questions, why is this man wearing one of the thickest fabrics possible besides wool? Not only on his upper half, but on his lower half as well.
And is it like an old denim season, or was this just like an old denim day? We'll have to wait till 2026 to find out.
No, we've talked about Australian Survivor is filled with people making questionable wardrobe choices with like the jackets that they bring. So I think it's just par for the course for David.
Look, this isn't just a look. He did play 3 seasons where he had long hair and it was out
and wore a leather jacket.
Imagine if he just cut his hair. Imagine if he like Samsoned it. And it was like, I'm JLP now, and he like had a new haircut.
Oh, that'd be interesting if he sort of like single white femaled, married white maled JLP and got his haircut and wore his exact same clothing. So that if people were more visually impaired, they would have no idea that there was any difference.
Have we ever seen a Survivor host wear jeans?
That's a great question.
Because it's like the khaki pants that we usually...
Yeah, Jeff wears khaki pants. I don't know. I'm sure... Listen, you've talked about the varying budgets and qualities of some international seasons. There's got to be at least one host out there over the past quarter century that has worn jeans on a common basis.
I feel like there's as many jeans as there are women in the hosting chair. None.
Yeah, more jeans have been seen on a host than women.
Yeah, we got there first. So that was a race that we were all in. Look, David looks different, but he looks great. I want to support David in this endeavor because I feel like this is a tough spot. This is a tough gig to come in on the heels of JLP leaving in fiery fashion. He made no qualms about that. I don't know if that's the word. It's been a long day. He's been doing more interviews since. He's only doubled down on the way he felt on the way out the door. Now, David did not fire JLP. If David took the job or David was chosen, I still believe it's David's prerogative. Like, all's fair in love and Survivor hosting, right? And business. Like, he won a job, to be honest. And that's a controversial opinion, I think, for people who think he should have been above the level more of not even taking it.
Yeah. And I've certainly seen the Judas label assigned to him a couple times.
But are he and JLP even friends? Like, what is their relationship? Like, contestant to host? Like, even if they are friends, like, I'd steal your job, Mike. No, I wouldn't. I'm joking. I wouldn't do it. Not on your birthday. That'd be crazy. I'd never take your job. But I'm not David. David wants Survivor. He's a cutthroat guy. He gets what he wants. He's got this great gig now. I don't know. I think it's fine for him. I think what they shouldn't have done that to JLP.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just
speaking into the void?
But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Purina believes no one should have to make the impossible choice between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit purina.com/purple to learn more.
Hello, I'm Diane Morgan. If you know who I am, you know who I am. If you don't, who cares? I'm here to explain Italian Time, a holiday phenomenon where Italians throw away their clocks and gather for eternity with San Pellegrino. I've been at this party so long that I've eaten 5 courses, hugged someone's grandma twice, and been offered a job in the family restaurant. So this holiday season, make sure to bring enough San Pellegrino to last you through the meal, the after meal, and the entire goodbye ritual. San Pellegrino, holiday on Italian Time.
Let's get into this a little bit because, again, we doted upon this in our JLP announcement pod. But, when it comes to bringing David on, it really seems like, especially as you mentioned, JLP has talked a lot through what he believes was the rationale behind his dismissal being largely budgetary reasons. You've talked about how Channel 10 is in a need of tightening the belt a little bit, much like the belt around David's jeaned waist there. And so part of that might have been that they felt JLP was too expensive to bring on for another season or renew his contract. And for what it's worth, David did win $5.8 million. And, I got the chance to talk with him after the Dondi finale, and he basically said, like, what this has given me the opportunity to do is to choose projects that I want to do rather than feeling like financially responsible that I have to take every single job just to keep food on the table. And so part of this might have been like, if they can bring on somebody who is hireable for dirt cheap, who's a very familiar face to not only fans of Australian Survivor, but even international fans as well, considering the Dondi lineup, it does make sense on paper. I think, as you mentioned, like, if it had to be done, this makes sense. The only worst thing about this all is that they felt it had to be done in the first place.
Yeah, bringing in those Dondi fans. We did it. We got that extra niche market. Yeah, I mean, maybe they just love David. Like, we were just assuming that he's just doing it dirt cheap. What if David's being paid a lot of money? We don't really know. We assume it's financial. Australian Survivor definitely loves David, right? They love what he's brought to the show. Even in a first boot of his tribe edit, it was glowing. Like, I think the show does, and they knew he was going to be obviously the new host when they edited, but like, the show really does love David, and maybe they I think it takes into a different direction for a new era. We've spoken about, we disagree with, we don't think, but we still, so it's just a line between we don't agree, but we also support David in this endeavor because it's tough. And I'm still going to watch Australian Survivor, and I'm still upset for JLP. Can we balance all those things? Is that fine? Is it fine for me to balance all those
We
things?
are complex beings, and so I think it's difficult to balance all those ideas in our head, but we must. So here's the other thing as well that we can discuss is that, this is not David's first time behind the podium, as it were. Maybe it is from a Survivor perspective, but following his 2 seasons, his back-to-back seasons in Australian Survivor, where he eventually comes away the champion, he really has parlayed into maybe not being as much of like a career reality TV contestant as some of the people certainly that have been on Australia versus the World, but the next year he's on the Celebrity Apprentice Australia as a contestant alongside or facing down with, his former nemesis, Janine Allen. And then he ends up serving as like a guest host on Getaway, which I'm to believe, I'm to believe Shannon is Getaway is some sort of like recurring travelogue show. And perhaps most mapped onto a 1-to-1 ratio is that in 2023, he was a host of this show called Rush that did only air for 1 season on Channel 9. It was sort of like a little bit of like an amazing racy type of thing where there were teams of 3 that would race around the world, but like they would also eliminate each other in a vote as well. So again, this is not David's first time hosting. When I mentioned this last time, I had a couple of people in the comments say that, they had the chance to watch Rush. And what it's given them a little bit of pause is that they do feel like David as a host was still kind of playing into the whole golden god over the top character persona, which is one of my primary concerns, to be honest. I agree with you, Shannon. I want to give him a chance. I think everybody should in due fairness. But that's probably one of the biggest worries I have is that David made himself famous on this show, on this planet, by being this big character, the golden god, Iron Man, blasting idols like repulsor rays. Being a host is a very different thing. You are more of a facilitator. You are more of a fly on the wall. You have to listen rather than speak and know when to speak. Do you think that he has that capacity, or is he more naturalized to, again, be the one to do most of the talking in the room?
I think he'll have to learn it because he has way more experience as a TV character than he does as a TV host. And yeah, as you say, a host has to be a lot more neutral than the big characters who are dominating screen time as David did in his seasons of Survivor. So I think it has to be learned. It's interesting because I think Rush was on a different network. So David's not like, I think often 10 will kind of go back to similar hosts. Like they'll kind of have a suite of people that they use. I'm still waiting for that call. They can go back to.
Because I remember actually with the JLP news, you had said that like maybe like Osher, right, who was
like
once
Osher,
Talking Tribal host, like they have a bunch of like these hosts in pocket with the network that they could have utilized as well.
100%. That's a really good example of people who were both on Talking Tribal in a guest and host capacity, who both hosted Australian Idol back when I was like 8 years old, or maybe 10 years old. So yeah, I think that they do have usually like I would think that if JLP were to step away, they might go back to one of those like really familiar faces from 10 who are known as a host, not as a Survivor player, not in the Survivor world, but like for their hosting capabilities. But they clearly want to go, they love David, maybe it's a money thing, and they want to go with the like extreme Survivor angle of it. It's a very different take on it because he's not a naturalized host. He's a character that we know, and it will be a learning curve. I think we'll have to see him over, assumedly, a very long season of Survivor, learn that. Like there might be some growing pains to that. I think he could learn it, but it will be about pulling back and seeing David in a very different light. And I'm sure he knows that. He has to do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is rather unprecedented. There's one other example I can really think of where a host steps down and in their place steps up an alumni. And that would be Top Chef for me, where Padma Lakshmi steps away after 20 seasons and they bring on Kristen Kish as a host. Now, that was a fantastic example of how this can go well. That Kristen was especially able to speak from the perspective of like, I've done this before. I know what it is, what is needed for you to do well. I know what you can do to do better. The difference is that, Top Chef, while still a competitive reality show, is a very different beast, very different set of ingredients from Survivor, where it's less moderation, right? It's more so coming in from an advice perspective of like, hey, I've done this in the past. Here's some stuff that you need to keep in mind. David, I would not be surprised if we get like a day one match chat where David's like, listen, I played this game before. Here's what you need to do, because again, he has a very specific style of play that's not going to apply to everybody. But I'd be hard pressed to think of many other examples where a host is an alum of the show. I know that certainly it's been talked about that like if and when Jeff Probst ends up retiring from a Survivor, who would take over there? I think a lot of leaders in the clubhouse are former players. Do you think the dynamic inherently changes, even if you're, hosting a cast of new players, if you are someone who like has played previously?
Well, there's a few things here. Firstly, who hosted it when David actually won the 500K at the All Stars finale, where JLP couldn't get into the country?
It might have been Austria.
Or did JLP get there in the end? Or did Osher do it?
He Skyped in, remember, because he was stuck in LA.
So did Osher do it? I think it was Osher.
Yeah, I think so. I would imagine so, because I think that was when you were doing Talking Tribal that season.
Yeah.
I think it makes the most sense.
I'm trying to think of where
it was hosted by Osher Gunsberg.
Yeah. Which is interesting, because if they were going to do the same thing they're doing here, they could have got Luke, who I think was at the finale. We were meant to all do stuff at the finale, and then like COVID kept shutting it down, and I didn't end up going, and we were all locked away. So I don't even think Luke was locked in Perth. I think he was there, one of the few that were. So they could have had Luke. They chose to go for the 10 host in Osher. You know what I mean? Like, so they chose to go down that path, and that's obviously changed in just like the larger than life persona that David is. I think if you're there with newbies, you can be like a mentor. Something that I thought about that they did for a very short amount of time, and they have now also done this again. When Chris Harrison left on the best of terms from The Bachelor,
Yeah, that's a
they
great
brought
point.
They brought in two. They brought in Caitlin and Tasha together, and they were like mentor figures to the new contestants because they'd both been in the position of being contestants and then of being leads. So I think that with newbies, there can be that element. It might make you less of an authority figure and more of like a peer, but that can work too. And now Jesse's the host, and he was on the show ages ago, but
Yeah.
he was also a former contestant. So, but he really feels like he really fits the mold of a very, again, like white male host on these shows. And he competed. He was on The Bachelor a very long time ago. So he feels more like he's like more of a traditional host of the show. But I do think there is that mentorship aspect. Now that's for the newbies. What about for the returnees, which we know Australian Survivor loves to do? There have been rumors that, I don't know, there have been rumors, and we'll just leave it at that the next season, this redemption season, has returnees. It would be hilarious if they were people who needed redemption from David. Imagine how that might like mess with your mind if it's like his former enemies, of which he has many. That would be crazy.
Also, I came to Australian Survivor to revive my legacy from David Jennett ruining my life. Oh no, David Jennett is at every single tribal council.
He voted me out of the game, and I see him when I close my eyes and when I open them. He's actually, is that him? Are you all seeing this as well? Like, that could really mess with you, especially if it's in a hybrid season compared to newbies who do not have that element. So that's really interesting. And they do returnees so often. And on a season named Redemption, you'd think they'd all be returnees. What would newbies need with the redemption theme? It's weird. It's like when they called random people villains.
I don't know, Shannon. We had heroes versus villains.
Yeah, it was
full
weird.
of a cast of half people that were apparently heroes and villains in real life. Though apparently, one person a couple at least really confirmed they were villains in real life. So they like to really have that theme apply loosely to what you do in your day-to-day, including that you need redemption in some way. But yeah, it must be such a trip if you are a returning player, even if you haven't played with David. Like, I assume that the Australian Survivor Network is small enough within its alumni that like you have to have had at least interacted with him, right? It's almost like when you have returning players in a fans versus favorites or blood versus water season with Jeff Probst, where it's like, hey, me and Jeff have this relationship that you don't necessarily have with him. So again, that's going to speak to, I think, David's neutrality, like could he handle a tribal council with returning players where he's like, so-and-so, come on, you know better than this. Like, hopefully that doesn't slip out. That's the other thing too, is that I think there has been a lot of comments over the years about like Jeff Probst inserts himself too much into the narrative. I think a lot of people say, okay, Jeff Probst is the 19th player on Survivor, and sometimes that's not necessarily in a good way. That again, he should be more of this kind of objective voice that doesn't necessarily want to speak into any sort of narratives that are going on. So again, you speak about David sort of playing that mentor role. If he gets drawn into having more of a voice, even from an objective perspective, I don't know if people are going to like that. I mean, let's also say here, as far as we know, David is the host and host only. This is not a Jeff Probst executive producer showrunner thing. David's not taking over Australian Survivor. He is serving as the MC. So it's not like we're looking at David completely running the show from top to bottom. But even still, people might feel a certain way if he does speak up a lot and again, sort of become, ubiquitous alongside the season itself.
Well, we have to see how it goes, honestly. Like, this is a season that will test that with rumored returnees, and this is really going to show that. This is going to be his first season. This is like really like out of the frying pan into the fire. And these are all concerns for sure. These are all question marks. And like, I hate to just like fence it, but like, we will see how it goes, and we're giving him that chance. So good luck, David.
That's the thing. Yeah. I say all that as sort of like pain points, but I feel like we need to give him a chance and maybe even like a season to warm up. I mean, even like JLP in his first season, this might be a hot take, I was not a big fan of. There was one infamous moment.
You suck. Boo. No, JLP forever.
Yeah, but there was one infamous moment, right, where like there was one person that I think it was Sue was visiting from the other tribe, and JLP's like, okay, so in the last tribal council, here's what happened. I think a lot of people would argue that like that didn't help Phoebe because he says like Phoebe was able to pull this off. And so again, there are growing pains that come with any host. Again, even Jeff Probst, Survivor Borneo is a relic in many ways. One of them being, okay, here's Jeff Probst with the talking shell that you have to hold on to. Like, there's a lot of stuff to get adjusted to, especially from David's perspective, having to go from a player to more of a host, sort of on the fly producer role. I'm willing to give it a chance. I want to see what happens. The dynamic's going to be interesting, especially since, as you mentioned, there seem to be at least a few returnees that are teased for this in Survivor Redemption, which feels oddly incomplete. I think it's because we're so used to Redemption Island that, or like the versus seasons that have basically been every single Australian Survivor season theming since season 3, that like it's just odd to have a one word, title after the colon here.
It's also funny that it's not Redemption Island, right? Like it's not the twist of Redemption Island, it's
For
Redemption.
all we know, yeah.
My brother and I have been riffing on this joke, and I thought it would take till January next year to be saying it, but we've been saying like the really literal versions of the American themes. Like instead of Redemption Island, it's like people who, well, not the, actually the opposite of the literal, like, no, literal. Yeah, they need redemption. It's not like an island.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think that, but then we were like, David versus Goliath, like people named David who are against people who are really tall.
Yep.
Winners at war, people just winning at life. Like there are a lot of ways they can go, like, because they clearly just go to the American themes and are just like looking at words on that page.
Yeah,
and
I'm
then
surprised
just
Blood
using
versus
them
Water wasn't with like a
for
bunch of
newbies.
vampires versus Olympic
Yeah.
swimmers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have a lot of Olympic swimmers. They could do a drive. They could, and I'm surprised they haven't with all the Olympians and Olympic swimmers. Well, Olympic swimmer won the game. Like I'm surprised they haven't done that. Don't give them ideas. They will do that. They will do vampires versus Olympic swimmers.
Well, we shall see what kind of blood will be drawn and spilled when we watch Australian Survivor: Redemption coming to our screens in 2026, hosted by the denim-clad David Jennett. Shannon, any other things you want to mention from this news? Any other stuff you want to talk about around, the official host transition being announced?
No, I mean we talked about it when JLP got fired. We talked. There was no other name in contention. Like there was no one who was ever said. It was very obviously David. They did not get ahead of the news, and now we have it officially at this time in the middle of the most historic season of my career and of many people's lives. Inconveniently timed for a lot of us, but we're here doing this podcast, Mike. This is great. I have nothing else.
Well, you have a lot going on in podcast form, as you mentioned, you are elbow deep at this point into Australian Survivor Australia versus the world. Should be noted, for very understandable reasons, no exit interview with David, I assume.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they told me, they were like, no exit. I'm like, I don't know who it was. So I was like, please, no, I can do it at any point in the season. They're like, this person is not available during the season. I'm like, please, I'm so annoying. I beg of you. Like, who is it? Is it someone? Then when it was David, I was like, oh, okay. No, that's fine. I should email them and be like, I get it. So yeah, no exits with David. Other exits though. And also recaps, all the recaps. One is coming out with Mike later on. Chappelle and Puya are out. There'll be a show with Rob. I think that's it. Chizzy Raffle. We're doing a Chizzy Raffle. Enter the Chizzy Raffle. It's in all the show notes of all the recaps. Helping cats. You can take out Chizzy points. What else? I don't know. Is that it? Do I have more to plug? You should know.
You're putting out like upwards of 6 or 7 podcasts a week. So this is more
now. Yeah, with this as well. So we know globalsurvivor.com for all of that. It's an amazing season. If you just care about the news, but you're like not watching Australian Survivor, sorry we spoiled you. It's fine. Like just watch it. Just watch it. It's so good. Like it's so good.
Yeah, I will say that even if you know that David is going in episode 2, the events that lead up to it are wildly unpredictable, leading right up to the vote happening. So check it out. It truly has started out of the gate as one of the best seasons of recent memory, if not one of the best returning seasons ever. So check that out. Check out the recaps too. Got plenty else going on from a reality TV perspective, and to the point where I did 2 Reality Flash podcasts at the end of last week, one of them being about the announcement of the Amazing Race 38 coming this fall, with all teams made up of at least one Big Brother alum along with a loved one. I got together with Taryn Armstrong to break that cast down. On Friday, it was announced that, or Thursday, I should say, that the Traders US will be releasing an all-new season of only civilians, no celebrities, alongside the celebrity version as well. So 2 Trader seasons in a year. I got together with Puya to break that down. So as we're sort of approaching the fall, this news is coming off the trees like the leaves around us. So feel free to subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you don't miss a second of any stuff that might pop up on our news feeds. And of course, just tips at therealityflash.com to send me any news that you might see that has not come across my desk yet that you want me to cover. And of course, I get to talk with Shannon every single Tuesday, including this upcoming episode, episode 3. You will not want to miss it, including our recap coverage. That's going to do it for this episode of The Reality Flash. Thank you all so much for listening. Shannon, thank you for hopping on. This was a very impromptu podcast that we were able to throw together, so I hope everybody enjoyed it. And I always relish the chance to talk with you, doubly so, considering we got to do back-to-back podcasts. And I cannot wait to see what is to come of Australian Survivor following Australia versus the world. Again, it really feels like a new phase of the show. I don't know how that's going to translate to any of the elements that are going to be coming in, but we know that we will see one brand new face, but familiar face, rocking the denim as part of the hosting gig. And unlike maybe David himself in that getup, I am not sweating too much about it. But we shall see how it all comes to pass next year. Thank you all again so much for listening, Shannon. Thank you. I'll be back in your eyes and ears soon with more reality TV news as it breaks. Until then, everybody, you've just been flashed.